All right, peace and blessings. It's Friday, August the 10th, the year 2018, and David Hinkson has written a letter to John McCain. I have already placed it on the Year of Jubilee website, so if you go to Hinkson's page, scroll down to the bottom, you'll see David Hinkson's letter to John McCain if you want to download it and read it yourself. If you want to hang around with me, I'm going to read it right now. Dear John McCain, or Dear Mr. McCain, I have followed your career over the years. I guess you could say at this point in time, I am overall disappointed in you and what you actually have stood for, as I'm a real conservative, as I still believe in the original intent of the Constitution as it was originally written, and in my opinion, you have helped to cancel our rights. But my opinion here really does not matter, as I'm now a provably innocent political prisoner. I have, in fact, now repeatedly asked for your help for 16 years. I also want you to know that this letter is going to be posted and shared on many websites, as I have asked it to be emailed and faxed to your office as well, as I would like to give you just one last chance to respond. I just want to make public the contents of this letter as it is now part of my story and your final story, as I want to be able to document that I reached out to you just one last time, the fourth time. I know that you really do not care about any innocent people who might have been sentenced to death by time on your watch, on purpose, just to make sure that I'm put out of business and robbed. In all reality, you now have a sentence of death by time just like me, and your friend Ted Kennedy. Ted, in my opinion, is now a habitat for an endangered species of brain cancer. Now you seem to have the same sentence, as this might be your final fate. Why is this important? I will tell you why this is important. I have had the provable cure for your condition since the year 2000. We could have saved Steve Jobs, Ted Kennedy, and many other people who have died of this thing they call cancer. In fact, I have also lost over 30 friends to cancer. I would have tried to help them, but I'm in prison for actually healing and helping people. I got cancer myself and only had a few months to live in 1988. I used some of my own ideas in physics and chemistry and found my own new treatment at that time, and never once used any of the standard medical treatments as I removed hundreds of my visible tumors. I have now written a booklet on the 5 different ways to cure cancer. In 1988, did a talk on worldwide Christian radio, and at this time, I needed to find a way to sell something on the air to raise money to pay for airtime. So I ended up attempting to make a new type of silver water to sell, and ended up not really thinking that the silver was all that important. Then shortly thereafter, I did a project to take 20 different heavy metals that are all listed on the FDA's RDA list and attempted using my chemistry concepts to make each one of them into a different liquid, non-toxic health food supplement. Really, to be honest about this, I started out really trying just to make money. Then as we got some interesting results, I ended up going back to school and got my degree in naturopath in 1999. The reason that I wanted this degree was that I had the dream of doing clinical studies overseas, and I wanted to go to work for the Doctors Without Borders as a free volunteer. Therefore, I ended up doing a lot of overseas clinical studies and even traveled to Russia and started working for doctors that worked for the Doctors Without Borders in that country. I also toured, T-O-U-R-E-D, I can't pronounce the word. I also toured many other countries doing a series of lectures on what's going on? Hold on. I also toured many other countries doing a series of lectures on new ways to abate different infectious diseases. You know what it did? When I said series of lectures, it thought I said Siri. That's so funny. My interpreter at the time was Roman Ponomarenko, who later became a senator in the Ukraine. Now Roman has died from a disease that I could have removed in 2 hours. Therefore, I now have 20 different stories to tell about these different minerals and how they might affect you when consumed. The point is this: copper metal is now listed as a toxic heavy metal, and just consuming the element copper in the wrong form has a disease attached to its very consumption, Wilson's disease. Yet the FDA has listed it as actually being needed by the human body on their RDA chart. So when I finally figured out how to make the copper totally non-toxic and started testing it, we learned fast many things that should now be of interest to you. For example, non-toxic copper when consumed, number one, is not toxic, no matter how much of it is consumed, but it is toxic to all nitrogen-breathing pathogens. Number two, is one of the 4 elements that can actually cross the blood, brain, and spinal barrier, and is in fact able to travel everywhere throughout the entire body system, where any moisture is found, and this means that it can travel everywhere. In fact, copper is also accepted and welcomed even by the cancer cells, as the cancer cells actually use copper to grow new feeder vessels for the purpose of expansion. Number 3, we proved that copper would kill every parasite and virus known to man, and it also kills all molds and fungus, and if enough of it is consumed, we have now been able to show that it kills all types of cancers and cancer cells everywhere in the entire body system, including the lymph system. Number 4, non-toxic copper could therefore now replace the need for inoculations, penicillin, and if in fact it might replace literally hundreds of current known medicines and their attached treatments. This, of course, really upset the FDA, and the companies that they work for and with, and maybe that is why they targeted me and threw me into prison. The FDA, in my opinion, is totally bought and paid for by Big Pharma. Testimonials. I have enclosed with this email an email that was sent to me just a few days ago, and you will find that she states in this email that her son was dying of cancer, and she and 2 other terminal cancer patients then consumed some of my non-toxic copper water in the year 2000, and in 2 weeks they lost all of their cancers. My lawyer, Scott Cantor, in Las Vegas, was diagnosed with terminal lymph cancer and consumed some of this non-toxic copper water, and 30 days later tested negative for this cancer. In fact, I had collected over 1,000 testimonials before they surrounded my home and arrested me and took me to Boise jail. I then sat uncharged in the Boise jail for 2 full years before I even found out why I was under arrest. This is now how they do it in the U.S. to doctors that they do not like. I thus have many more cancer testimonials to share with you. But the thing that is most interesting is that I had a doctor who was working for the Doctors Without Borders who got a brain-eating amoeba in his brain, and he was totally terminal, and after consuming my copper product, he lived and the amoebas died. This worked, in my opinion, as the copper was able to actually cross the blood-brain barrier. Also, my cousin Derek Karchner had an infection in his lung for many months, and instead of having him just inhale the copper with a nebulizer, I had him just drink an 8-ounce glass of the copper water at 200 parts per million, and in 2 hours his cough went totally away as the copper entered into his lung cavity through the phlegm. This was secreted into this cavity. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that the copper will really penetrate everywhere and do some very interesting things besides just killing all cancer cells, as cancer cells are in fact cells that are breathing nitrogen instead of oxygen. So note here that it was the FDA agents that wanted to stop me from selling and distributing my products, so they attacked me to stop me. They then paid a rat that was doing my testing to falsify my FDA label test, so that they could now claim that I was selling an adulterated drug in interstate commerce. Then they met with the IRS agents and they lied and said I owed $8 million when I owed no money. And then they had the FBI arrest me and had the very same rat who was testing my minerals for FDA label compliance come to court and lie against me. Thus they accused me of hiring this rat to be a hitman to kill federal officials. I knew at all times that this man was actually in a coma in the VA hospital when they said that I hired him to be a hitman to kill federal officials. I thus told my attorney that I had an alibi, and he went and told them about my alibi, so they went and immediately filed a superseding indictment that would show that I was in the U.S. and that the rat was no longer in a coma. And then they hid my passport and his medical records. But all of this is provable, as the rat went to trial and was found guilty of stolen valor and theft of government property based on the same lies he used against me on the witness stand, and he wore a phony Purple Heart on the witness stand. Yes, he stole $250,000 in VA benefits and was getting over...
Unknown caller.
All right, we'll pick this up. All right, let's pick up where we left off. Yes, he stole $250,000 in VA benefits and was getting over $4,000 a month as a wounded veteran, when in fact he was not even in the Korean War, as he was only 13 years old. So he is a proven sociological liar. Note here that I am a Vietnam veteran who served honorably, and to pay me for my service, I have been kidnapped and tortured now for over 16 years. This rat was also found guilty of stealing these VA benefits and was sentenced to prison for his stated testimony. But then they released him from prison 2 months later. Now, to keep me in prison, they have created a whole new legal standard called the Hinkson Standard, in direct violation against the Supreme Court and ex post facto. Therefore, to prove I'm actually innocent, all a person has to do is ask to see my passport, but that might be too much bother. Here is the point. If I was doing something that was really criminal in making these minerals, would not have been allowed to continue to make these products for another 12 years, even while sitting in the ADX? Finally, the only way they could stop me from making this waterized copper was they sent a new rat to Idaho and they firebombed my factory. Thus my factory totally burned to the ground. Now, as I sit here as a political prisoner, I have gotten a doctor to actually start making the copper water again. I want you to know that I will continue to make this copper product until I take my last breath, as I know that the whole world needs it. Therefore, if you have no interest in it, that is okay, as you need to just keep doing what is working for you, and maybe you believe in the mentally controlled doctors who practice in this country. So, as you can see, kidnapping me and burning me down did not stop me from doing my mission to help others. The only question that now needs to be asked is, will you read this letter and ask for a bottle of the copper water and live a few more years, or will you continue to head for the cliff? I would be willing to help you if you would just listen to what I have to say. There are many people who are now languishing in prison, who are totally innocent, and right now these federal agents can put a person into prison based only on the movement of one sociopathic liar's lips, as there never was any corroborating evidence in my case, only the testimony of a proven by trial sociopathic liar. What needs to be done to stop and fix this situation is the federal rules of evidence need to be fixed so that federal agents can no longer put someone on trial unless they have some kind of supporting evidence. That would just be the right thing to do. I think I will CC this letter to your friend President Trump. Therefore, I have now sent you this letter so that I can prove that I gave you a chance to hear about my copper product, as I really want to help you with your current situation. In the past correspondence, when I wrote to you, I never mentioned anything about the copper product. But at that time, I did tell you about my 3 new energy devices. For example, I have a new electric jet engine that uses magnets and generates its own electrical needs in a self-sufficient way. And this device totally violates the law of Lenz. In fact, we even have a YouTube video showing one of our Galt motors working and violating the law of Lenz. Go to Galt generator. 4th pick down to see it for yourself. I want you to know that I have offered these inventions to the U.S. Navy and NQTEL.org and have never gotten a response back. Even when we have a working model to show off, we still cannot get a response. Others might be interested in this. Now, in conclusion, I want you to know that this new U.S. Supreme Court ruling known as DiMaia actually is supposed to release me very soon, as it turned all of the crimes that I never even committed are now being classified as nonviolent. So even knowing that I could be out very soon, I still have attempted to help you by writing this one last letter to you to give you a chance to live. Maybe we will never see eye to eye in the future, but as one veteran to another, I think what this country has done to me and to others I have met here is quite despicable. Go to website LoneStar1776.com or yearofjubilee.com, Jubilee spelled with one E, just like it is in the King James Bible, to read about my story. I'm a veteran too. With respect, David Hinkson. Again, this letter's been loaded to the yearofjubilee.com, Jubilee spelled with one E, just like it is in the King James Bible, and this letter has been uploaded to David Hinkson's webpage.